and welcome to ConTinual, the con that never ends. Today, we have a wonderful guest on An Hour with Hildie McQueen.
Hi.
Hey, good to see you tonight. How are you?
I'm excited to be here. I have a little bit of a wheat tea here with my little Scotland mug.
Excellent, excellent. Always good for someone who writes books set in Scotland.
Yes, exactly.
So, USA Today bestselling author Hildie McQueen, you write books, Scottish historicals, Scottish medievals, you've written a few Westerns, you have more than 60 books in print.
Yes.
You are quite prolific. How did you get your start? How'd you start?
Well, as you know, the first book that I actually wrote, and I still remember, it was called, what was it called? Moon at the Lake or something. And I wrote it for my friends and I included them. I made them all heroines in it. So it was a book with 5 heroines and it was a very, I thought, silly story. So I had them read it and they all were so excited. They're like, oh my gosh, you can actually write. And I'm like, come on, you guys, I've always liked to write. But anyway, I just got my start, decided to visit Georgia romance writers and got bitten by the bug. I couldn't not write after that. So I started writing. Actually, my first genre was paranormal.
Oh, really? Is that where you first sold?
Yes, actually, my first book, it's called, now it's called Immortal Highlander. It's under my other pen name, Jeanne McQueen, but those were my first books that I wrote. Cool.
It's one of the, but it's still set in Scotland.
Well, Immortal Highlander, they are Highlanders. The actual series is set in Atlanta. It's they're more of an urban fantasy, but the first 2 heroes are Scots.
Of course they are.
Of course they are.
What is it that draws you to Scotland? Why do you love Scotland so much?
I think, well, it's funny because my maiden name is very rare. If you ever find somebody whose name is MC, capital T-E-R-E, they're probably related to me. There's not very many. And I, of course, growing up wanted to know where that name came from. Being that my dad was African-American, I think, because I don't know for sure. I figured he was either half mixed or something, but he was a gruff old man and he didn't care about talking about all that. So anyway, I did all the research and I've always wanted to know if it was a Irish last name, Welsh, or Scottish, McTair. So anyway, it was funny when I went to Scotland, there I was with 2 Scots at a pub and I told them, have you guys ever heard this last name? And they said, no. And I said, well, maybe it's Welsh. And they both spit on the ground at the same time. Never say Welsh.
Apparently not popular.
No, apparently not. But when I went to the Highland games and I was looking at all the banners and, they have a big clan name and then underneath it is the clans that fall under that clan.
Yeah.
I saw Clan Ross because I always thought it must have fallen under McIntyre, short for McIntyre, McTair. So I thought maybe that's where it came from. Well, I saw Clan Ross banner and they're listed under Clan Ross was McTair.
How cool is that?
And I was like, oh my gosh, that's where it comes from. So Scottish. And then when I did my DNA, I have some Scottish blood.
That's so cool.
But that was all Highland fans.
Well, and is that what made you decide to start the incredibly cool historical series about Clan Ross?
That's why I chose Clan Ross, correct? Because I found out I was a Ross about 3 or 4 years ago. Yeah. I always knew there was a little bit of Scottish, but I never knew what clan.
Yeah, the whole rise of the DNA thing has been super fun to figure things out.
And it's been so interesting to find out all these. I always thought I was biracial. I thought, well, I'm half Black, half Mexican. I found out that I am like 1/3 a bunch of other things and only 1/3 Mexican and only 1/3 Black. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm something else. I don't know what I am now.
Mine was mostly right. But then about 2 months ago, everything changed because there was this big, huge DNA study done on the Vikings. Ooh. So they went through and did this study on Viking DNA and they rearranged everybody's DNA profiles on 23andMe. And turns out there's French in there. I knew there was a bunch of German and a bunch of English. Right. It's mostly English and Irish and Scotch for me. Right. And so now I have French in there too. I'm like, well, cool.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got Scottish, and during the big change, I got more European, and a couple of countries that I wasn't fully aware of, but mostly European. I thought Middle Eastern would be in there somewhere, and it wasn't, so I was surprised about that.
Yeah. But the Scottish has always drawn you. So you started writing Clan Ross. Is Clan Ross, you sold first with the Morag, right?
Right.
Right. And so that obviously is always a big deal for those of us who started. What year was that?
Beauty and the Highlander came out in 2015. So, and I think, yes, that was the first time I really started concentrating on Scotland as far as historical goes. And I fell in love with writing the historical portion, and it was interesting to me and easy to write Scotland, not only because I'm in love with that country, but also because the history from so much of that time is not known. So it leaves us to have creative minds, a lot of opening to kind of build our own stories of how things could have been. So that part was really neat. You know, before it was all in the medieval times, before all the, you know, the clan clashes and all the Bruce and all them people.
Yeah.
And all the Bonnie, Charlie, whoever they are.
All those annoying royals.
All those annoying royals.
So tell me about Clan Ross and Clan Ross of the Hebrides. How many stories, and tell us a little bit about it.
Okay, well, Clan Ross started out with the Heartless Laird, and I should have grabbed the books. Sorry, my dogs. Let me close the door.
All right.
I have a bunch of little yappy critters. Okay, so I have my show and tell here. So the story started out with this one, A Heartless Laird, and it is the story of Malcolm Ross and him taking over the clan. And what I started off this series with was a death of a laird, and I seem to like to kill dads. It's really sad. Stop killing their fathers, but so their dad died in a pretty tragic way, and so he took over the clan at a pretty young age. And then followed by his other two brothers. Other stories come after theirs. And it's all about these young men finding their way. In the middle of all this, because of the way their father died, clan war erupted. So they got in war with the MacLeods, who was one of the MacLeods who killed their dad. So it is stories of, you know, these heroes going through the pain of loss, battling the fear of the unknown and what's to come. You know, of course, even more death because of the battles and having to deal with their people and what their people paying the price of this, of what happened. So it was each story, kind of the overall arc is how people come through pain and through all these many ways of finding the right path for each of them. And along the way, of course, finding the love of their lives, because why not?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So that was Clan Ross is 6 books, and they are all published through Dragonblade, which is an amazing publisher. So good to me. And I am going to be doing another series that I'll talk about, tell you a little bit more about that. It's kind of a secret right now. But when the last book of Clan Ross, which was The Fierce Archer, released just last week, I decided that was the end of my contract with Dragonblade, but I wanted the story to go on because the hero of that book goes back home to the Hebrides. So I thought, you know what, let me go to the Hebrides. He has 6 brothers and a sister. Why not tell their stories? They're going through some stuff too. So I immediately went to the Hebrides and started with the guy behind me, and that's Derek Ross, and he is also a brand new laird. His dad died of natural causes. He wasn't killed, but he was an evil guy. He was a horrible man that just mistreated the people. Nobody trusts his family. Nobody likes them. And so here he inherits this clan that doesn't trust the thing he says, you know, and there's dissension, there's a possible uprising, and so he has to deal with all that. Of course, in the midst of that arrived this other clan that's pretty strong that could help him out. But he, in order to form or get their support, he is to marry their daughter, the laird's daughter. And it turns out not exactly as planned.
Which is the fun of it.
Which is the fun, of course. So yeah, so this series, the Clan Ross of the Hebrides, right now I have planned 5 books, but it might be 6, but I think it's going to be just 5 books because the one brother's already married off, and so the sister's going to get married somewhere else. So that only leaves a few of them.
Now, did you do a lot of research on the Hebrides? Have you ever been there?
I have watched all kinds of stuff. No, I was in with the Isle of Skye, which is borders the Outer Hebrides, but right. No, actually my next trip to Scotland was postponed because of 2020. So I'm planning to, now I have to put it off till 2022 because this year I have to go to Mexico. So I kind of do research there. Scotland, Mexico, not exactly the same. And so, yes, I plan on going next year just to see the Hebrides, but I have been there many, many times in documentaries and the Google Earth and all that, just to get a feel for it.
It's such a wonderful resource, Google Earth, isn't it?
It really is.
And all the documentaries, all the things. I was saying this to a friend this weekend, that all of the things that we used to watch in school, you can now find on YouTube and on various and sundry other sites, and you can get such an insight into a country and the geography, and they'll take you on a ride through the countryside, and you're like, oh, now I know what the countryside looks like.
Yeah, there's an actual YouTube channel, and I'll have to remember the name of it, but I can't right now. But it's these people that go from island to island, and they research places to stay. And so that has been really cool because the people will give them a tour of that area, what there is to do there. Of course, I'm writing, 1,000 years prior to this, but still, it's kind of cool to see. A lot of the way of life there hasn't changed that much.
Right, and the mountains still stand. So
yeah, exactly. So that's cool.
So the Lion and the Clan Ross of the Hebrides is also coming out through Dragonblade, right?
No, the Lion is on self-pubbing. The Clan Ross of the Hebrides is a spin-off series that I'm self-publishing. Okay. And then in this fall, the Rogues of Aldersgate. No, the Rogues of the Lowlands will be a new series that I will be doing with Dragonblade, and that's going to be so much fun because I get to integrate a little bit of Regency style England because they're down in the south of Scotland, bordering England. So it's going to be in the 1800s. So it's going to be so much fun. It's going to be so different for me. That one I'm a little nervous about because I do have to research. I've done. I was going to say,
have you written in that time period before?
I do. I have 2 books, 2 Regency books, and I think the Lion's Laird is a Regency, and it's also a Scottish guy that comes to England or Regency types, of course. And then I wrote 2 Regency novellas that were fun. The Allure of an Elusive Viscount and The Seduction of Mr. Yarnsby are both Regencies, and they're kind of shorter, but they were so much fun. I don't like writing Regency so much because I love Regency. I love reading it, and Bridgerton blows me away because I love the whole allure of the dresses and the balls and the society's rules and all that. It's so much fun to play with, but to me it's like, they didn't seem to do very much.
No, they really didn't.
They go to balls and drink teas and talk about each other.
Yeah, but not much sword swinging.
I'm going to throw some Scots into the mix, and that's going to be fun.
That will be fun. And especially in the borders, because that's always been in contention.
Oh, yeah. So I'm planning to have fun with that. But yes, most of my stuff is medieval period, and that's where I'm comfortable at, because it gets to the point where you don't have to do as much research because you kind of already know what's going on and everything. Yeah. Right.
Well, you also did a shared world series with 2 books in it of pirates, and that was in the Pirates of Britannia series.
Right. Yes.
And I think there are 15 or 20 books in that series, all different authors, but you did 2.
I did 2. Yes, I did the It all has to do with the lion world that was made up by Catherine Lebec. So the lion had to be part of it. So I thought I'd have fun with it, and that's why I did the sea lion. And what's the other one? The lair? No,
the Sea Lord.
The Sea Lord. Yeah. So yeah, pirates were totally different. Now that's another thing. I had a notebook with pictures of pirate ships and how things were done and everything. That was so much fun to write. Both of them were Scottish. Was he Scottish? I don't remember. Yes,
they were both Scottish. Yeah,
both Scottish guys. Yeah, I can't get away from it because they are what I know, I suppose. But yeah, the one was a sea captain and the other one worked for him. So, and it's about how they ended up as pirates, working in, as doing it on the illegal side of the trade. So
yes,
it was a lot of fun. Yeah, doing things on a boat with bringing the heroine aboard or them on to sea, that took a little bit of trickery because I'd never written pirates before, but it was fun. I like challenges like that because it's like, what can I do to make this work?
How was it writing in a shared world though? Because you obviously had rules you had to follow, and you had certain things you had to put in the book, books to follow along with the shared world. How was that? Was that part of the challenge? Did you enjoy that?
It is. It's part of the challenge. I actually like the fact of having certain parameters, because then you know where to kind of start and anchor your story to. So one of them, I think, was the fact that they had to be part of a specific fleet. I don't think, other than regulating, I don't think we shared characters just to make it easier, because there's so many authors that we would have to make all of each other's stories. I think the time parameters also, we had a lot of freedom as to between this year, and it was like 300 years. So we had plenty of time to pick our space to do it in. So I mean, it was, that part was not hard at all. To me, made it a little easier.
Yeah, sort of a framework as opposed to
exactly. Yeah,
the way most of us usually start our stories, which is just like plucking an idea out of somewhere.
Exactly. And then when they throw things at you a little bit, you're like, oh, okay, we really need a pirate who comes from not royalty, but is titled or something. I'm like, oh, okay, that's where the Sea Lord came from. Okay, well, what about a guy that's a lord and something happens? I think his brother got jealous of the fact that he was inheriting the title and not him, and sold him as a young kid.
Oh, wow.
And thus he ended up at sea, eventually becoming the captain of his own ship.
The Prince of Egypt.
Exactly. Huh?
So I know you've also written a ton of Westerns and Western themed stories, and you've got a number of books in each of those series, but I really wanted to sort of focus on where you start. What's your process as a writer? Are you a plotter? Are you a pantser? Do you plan things out? Do you not plan at all? How do you start a story?
I think most of the time I start with the idea, the big general idea. So let me set a family in this place. Like for Shades of Blue, I've made up a place. Well, this is a funny story. Alder Gulch, Montana. I decided, let me look up a town that was, very prosperous during the gold rush, and then it died out. So now nobody lives there. So that way I can just kind of make up a world that happened there. What if there was this booming town, and this family, a big ranching family, kind of didn't own the town, but they were well known. The sons kind of, were the guys every woman in town wanted. And of course, there's not that many. And then there's, each of them has a certain story. Yeah, let me do that. So I set the story there, and it was one of my best-selling, and it was my debut being self-published, indie pubbed, and it was so much fun. And then I got a letter from my sister-in-law, and she said, I just wanted you to know that one of my very good friends lives in Alder Gulch, and she just loves those books. And I was like, I thought that town was dead. She said, no, it's not dead. I'm like, oh, my sister-in-law lives in Montana, and my husband's from there. So I thought, oh, wow. Oh, goodness, I looked it up, I did all the research, and of course it said it was a booming gold town. And then the mines, they stopped. They didn't find any more gold or and then it died. I didn't know that it had revived. I didn't look up that part, but when Westerns became something that I also became very familiar with, that whole world, became very easy for me to write. And the readers are so kind. They love sweet romance. They love their cowboys. And, when you think about it, cowboys are our version of the Highlanders. We are guys that they went untamed.
They really are.
And, on horseback, untamed, and kind of, getting their land. And
roguish.
Roguish, yeah. So yeah, I love both genres.
Well, what's your process for writing? Do you plot?
No, no, sometimes it depends. Like, what I'll do is I kind of get a general idea. I kind of sit down and think about it, or I'll go for a drive or a walk or something, and I think about how I want to start it off. Clan Ross, for example, I knew that I wanted to write like a saga, a family saga of a family going through battle and coming around to peace, and eventually they would find their place. So I'm like, okay, well, the best way to start off something is something really dramatic and horrible happening. So I'll start from there and then write the first guy. And he is going to be, everybody's going to assume he is just totally heartless, doesn't care about anything because of the situation he's been put into. So I write usually in my mind is like a movie. The opening scene is always like my cornerstone. And so I started the story with him looking over a battlefield and bodies laying around and some people moaning, and the healer and his helper going around poking people to see if they were dead or alive. It's just a scene that's like kind of surreal, but then you just see him on top of the horse and you're like, shouldn't you get off the horse? These are your men that died. But that's how I wanted him. I wanted the reader to think, what a jerk, or why is he so holding himself separated from the situation. So, and once I get and I start and I write the first chapter, then I know where the story's going. And usually there is a point in almost every book where I stop and I'm like, I have no idea what's going to happen next, and that's when I plot. I usually plot the rest of the story. Sometimes it's like 3/4 of the way done, sometimes it's halfway, and it's so weird, but I always get to that point. I'm like, okay, time to plot. I have to figure out how to put the next few scenes, fix them so that I can finish the story in a way that makes sense. Isn't that crazy?
Right. Well, every time I interview another author, it reinforces for me that every author has their own process, and that's the right process for them.
Right.
And that the best way to write your book is your way. There are some people who literally never plot or plan. I would have predicted that you would have been a plotter because you love planners, and because you and I are in a planning group together. Right. You love planners, and you like organizing your day and organizing your week. So I would have thought you would be a plotter, but turns out you're not. That's pretty cool. I find it interesting that you go with the flow of the story until you need to plot. And then that's cool.
Yeah, I've tried plotting from the very beginning, and it'll be maybe one line, because if I go too much in depth, I'll feel like I already wrote the book. And then my mind says, yeah, you're done. And I can't. It's like pulling teeth. I have actually plotted an entire book and have not been able to write it before. And it scared me. So I'm scared to do that now. So there's been very few that I have, like, the whole book comes to me and then I have it in my head. And as long as I don't write it down or outline it, I'm fine. So I might put like the points and then get started on it. But yeah, never been able to plot. I admire people who plot, because they say once they get the plot done, they can just whisk through and get the book written.
I always admire that too, because I'm kind of a plotter.
Yeah.
I plot it just enough to sort of know where the turning points are. And I have to know what the end is. As long as I know the beginning and the end, I'm good.
Sometimes I don't know the end.
I've discovered that if I don't know the end, I'll go wandering off into the wilderness. At about the 85% mark, I go wandering off into the wilderness. Can't get anything done. So
where'd she go? She's in the woods.
Well, actually, it's more like in the weeds.
She's gone for a hike.
That's exactly right. And the story is not coming back. So what's your daily routine as a writer?
I'm very, last you know, I have a planner and I have the same 4 things on every day. And people might say, why does she do that? I don't know why I do it, but I'm very set in my routine. And I make a cup of tea. I do my Facebook post. I check my email, check my sales stats, check my Facebook ads, put up a Facebook post of my teacup, whatever I'm drinking tea out of that day. And then by then I kind of, take my little dog for a walk. And then I come back, have my second cup of tea, and then I write. I usually start writing about 9:45, 10 o'clock. And I'll stop like every hour to do something just to stretch or go. That dog keeps me on moving, which I really am grateful for. He's got this little timer, like, okay, it's been an hour ever so since you've been sitting there, come throw my ball, and he'll just sit there and scratch my leg and make these weird noises. And so I'll throw a load of laundry in or whatever, throw stuff in the slow cooker, and then I come back, write for another hour, and I do that like 3 times. Usually I'm done around 1:30 or 2, and then after that, then I do the same, go do all the Facebook stuff again, Mark, that stuff that we have to do with all the admin stuff. Make sure that if I want, start work on a newsletter or have to make some graphics, that kind of stuff, then I do that then. So, and I pretty much do the same thing every day. Thursdays I meet some friends for lunch, and then so that my routine is kind of broken up, and so I might run errands that day. Yeah. And then Friday usually is my hardest day because I want to, whatever goal I have for the week, I want to make sure that it's done by Friday. So sometimes I don't even get up to eat. I just go bring a cookie or something here and keep working. Because my punishment, if I don't get my work goal or whatever done, I have to work on Saturday. Well, I'm busting my butt so I don't have to work on Saturday. That's how I roll.
There you go. Why not? I mean, in some ways, that is what we are advised to do. Is like, you have to treat it like a job. You have to treat it not only as your passion, but your profession.
Right.
And you have to make sure your behind is in the chair and your hands are on the keyboard. And
but there are days that we don't feel like it. I know. Some days I just have to push away and say, you know what, it's not happening today. Don't force it. Just go do something else that's useful. So clean my office. That's why I love this background, because you guys can't see that mess behind me. But I'll have to turn around and go, well, if I'm not going to write, what is something that I can do that's going to still be positive and progressive and not make me feel so guilty the next day? And I try not to guilt myself into feeling bad about not getting work done sometimes, because we all need a break. Sometimes our mind is just not going to work that way,
Right. Yeah. Do you find that you still read a lot?
I do a lot of audiobooks. I belong to a book club. Me and 5 friends started the book club in 2014. So how many years ago was that? And we still have been meeting every single month for 16 years. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, we've never missed a month. No, I'm lying. At the beginning of the pandemic, we missed 2 months, and we met on Zoom. But other than that, never missed. And so whatever, if somebody picks a book, I do my best to read all of them. There's some I can't get through, but so every month I read at least one book. But yeah, I love reading. Just helps me feed my tank, because some writers are so good, and I just admire their style, and sometimes it'll be a totally different genre than what I write, but their style and their storytelling are just amazing. And so I love that. I love seeing everybody's style.
Yeah. Now, do you find, I think most of us as writers find that being writers makes us read books differently.
Mm-hmm.
So that a lot of times you figure out the mystery before the mystery is revealed, or, because that's the way our minds work too. But there are always some who say,
we would be like, oh, what would I write next? Oh yeah, that's what they're doing. We're like,
yeah. Is there any author that stumps you that you don't figure out before the reveal?
If I'm reading suspense or mystery. What is his name? I just read a book called The Magpie Murders, and I couldn't figure it out. I was just Anthony Horowitz. But to be fair to me, the reason I didn't figure it out because it's a book inside a book. So the protagonist is trying to solve a mystery while she's reading a book about a mystery, and then you get into the book that she's reading and forget that you're in another book, and then he is so good about. I mean, I could never ever try to even write something like that. I couldn't figure out who did it, and then the hints were they're all along, and then he's the tease, and then he comes back and says, "Oh, did you figure it out? Because the hint is in the very first page," and you go back and read the very first page, and you're like, "Really?" Or the not the hint, but the answers in the very first page, like really. But yeah, so I know I could never figure his out. I guess pretty much one of his books, but I still no. He's really good.
I love it when that happens, though.
Yeah.
So I'll have to try his work, because if he can fool you, he'll probably fool me too. I like it.
Yeah, I like for you to tell me what I like. The voice actors in the audiobooks for the Magpie Murders are very good, and so they draw you in. And yeah.
Now, are your books in audiobook?
Clan Ross, I think the first 4 are already up on audio. I don't know. I need to know about my own books. I need to look and see if the next one is up yet. But yeah, the Clan Ross are. And then the Westerns, I haven't done the first of the 2 Brides for All Seasons. The first 2 are on audio so far. I'm not sure that I'll do the rest, but still trying to decide. I would like to do the Clan Ross of the Hebrides books, so I'll be kind of finding out more about that. They are in paperback right now and in ebook, of course.
Of course. And the cover is absolutely amazing. Your cover artist has done a brilliant job. You've had very good luck with covers. You have some really gorgeous covers. Do you have a cover designer that you use?
Yes, and actually the same cover designer has done my Westerns and also my the Clan Ross series and Clan Ross of the Hebrides. And then she also did the Brides and Shades of Blue. I don't think she did. She might have done the Lion's Laird. I'm not sure this one. It's also really pretty.
Oh, that is really pretty.
I think she did this one too. So I'm lucky enough that she was already doing my covers. And then when I went to Dragon Blade and she continued to do my covers, so we could, I kind of like working with her. I know what she'll do and what changes I want, and she'll do them for me. So I really like
that. Then your books all have sort of the same feel too, which is really nice for readers.
Yeah, his brother, which was the next book, The Beast, that's already up. That one is beautiful too. It's more of a smoky gray background. Ooh, it's really pretty. Yeah. I was like, man, the others have it going on.
So what's next? You've got the Clan Ross, and you've got the Lowlands. So the Lowlands will probably keep you busy for a little while.
Yeah, that's what.
But what are some other areas that you're looking to explore?
I'm trying to think. I have, there's a series called the Angel Creek Christmas Bride series that I've been doing. It's also in a shared world with 4 or 5 authors. We fluctuated. Sometimes we have 4, sometimes we have 6. I think this year we have 6 authors that are doing it, and it'll be out in probably November, December timeframe, and each of us takes a week. And so my book is going to be called It's Always a Woman's Name. I have Ruby and Pearl, and then this year the bride's name is going to be Glenda, and she's named after a reader of mine that passed away last year. And so I'll be so excited to write her book and dedicate it to her. So yeah, and that one is it's Angel Creek is a western town where it always seems to have snowstorms at the most interesting times.
Amazing.
So a blizzard comes through and people are forced to stay together. It's so odd.
Well, considering they had snow in the first week in May
I
in
know.
Colorado.
It's not so far-fetched. Yeah, so anyway, that's my next project. That's not gonna really be, I'm looking at my board over here because I have a board with all my deadlines and what I'm doing. But most of the year gonna be taken up by Clan Ross of the Hebrides. Then I'll be doing Glenda, and then I will be starting on the Rogues. So that's my year.
On the Rogues of the Lowlands. That's so cool.
Spring. So I'm tied up till next spring.
That is so cool.
I'm excited.
Well, not a bad thing. We will all look forward to reading them because it's super fun.
It is, and I'm living my dream, so I can never complain.
Yeah, and same.
That's what we want to do, and it's awesome that we get to do it. I'm looking at your wall behind you, and I'm like, oh, I love that top cover, The Witch's Walk.
Oh, I get so many compliments on that cover, and I love that cover. It's so eerie and cool at the same time.
It is. It's really pretty. I love it.
So, well, we are about at the end of our time together. Why don't you tell everybody where they can find you on the web? And obviously you've done some panels for us here at ConTinual, so you can find her, Hildie, on ConTinual with us several times, and we'll keep getting her back as much as we can. But
they can find me.
So why don't you tell us where we can find you on the web?
Okay, well, you can find me on HildieMcQueen.com. That's easy. It's my name. And then Facebook, Facebook.com/Hildie McQueen. And then on Instagram, I'm Hildie McQueen Writer. And usually I'm more on Facebook and Instagram are my two jams. I have a Twitter account, but I never go there because I don't understand it. And yeah, and I would love it if you guys sign up for my newsletter. I'll give you a free book. I'm not going to say wait, but you probably should wait because I'm about to put up a new free book that's going to be part of the Clan Ross of the Hebrides. I should have it up hopefully next month. So I'll come back to continue and announce that.
Absolutely. You'll have to come back and do hot off the press with us and tell us about the new stuff. All about the new stuff.
Yeah. It's always fun.
Because we love having you on our different panels. So we're always glad to have you.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you all out there in our ConTinual group for staying with us. And thank you for joining us for a wonderful hour with Hildie McQueen.
See you soon. Thank you, Jeanne.
And